I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy Craig, otherwise known as Fack the Madness. Fack the Madness is kind of what I want to say. No, not really. Give it a little bit for people to come here, to come in to the show if they will. Good to see everybody. Let's see. Man, what did I do already? I woke up this morning. I got a message. Well, I got a number of alerts, obviously. The first one being that Trump is, I don't know if they have called it for certain, but it seems as though he has won. Congratulations to President Trump, or President-elect Trump again. And then I had some news from my uncle, which I'll talk about shortly after. It kind of coincides with my thoughts about what went on last night. So, name of this show today is As I Have It. Oops, I started that. Didn't mean to do that. Trump won. Put the election baby in the crib. Somewhere along the line last night, and I don't know if anybody heard this as well. I did. So I'm going to put it out there. The notion of what I heard. Now, it was something to the effect of, naming off the issues of what it was, women's rights to their body, the economy, immunity for cops, immigration, the stock issues that we've all heard about. And then someone said that they've asked the question, and I don't know if I thought about it myself, but I thought it was an interesting question as to who would you want to take care of your baby? And I thought that was kind of an interesting approach, if you will, to the question of who do you vote for. I think that might be a little bit simplified, but that's what I got out of it. So that's what I'm going with. Um, and it kind of made me run to AI last week. For those of you guys who showed up last week and those of you who've watched the show from last week, we went over a little bit of AI, specifically Leonardo.ai. That is the AI tool that I use to do some of my thumbnails, create some of the images, mostly related to the thumbnail. So to my thumbnails. But last week, and it was an interesting and fun show because I was kind of itching to go about um, doing it in front of everybody like we did last week, and it turned out to be kind of fun. But last week, what I did was, is, and I saw this on Reddit. I told you all that I've started to go on Reddit. My Reddit page is u/FAQ the Madness, FAQ the Madness, and I have a subreddit page. What's up, Les? Les, sorry. How you doing? Good to see you. No matter the winner, I won't be celebrating with the loser. Okay. Alrighty then. What was I saying? Oh, I was talking about let me put this up for people to see. I was talking about what we did with AI. So, um, I was actually thinking about one other thing just prior to that. Can't specifically remember what it was. It's okay. How easily are we distracted? But it's not a problem because we have one of the mods in the house. He's been there multiple times. I think my wife. Did you need some money? No. Thanks for being here. But last week, what we did was we asked AI to try to give us an image of a glass filled to the brim with wine. Now, I kind of threw it out there. I didn't do this, but I was going to see if you did different liquids like milk or water. And I ran out of like credits because I had the free version of Leonardo.ai. Again, I love using Leonardo.ai. They are not a sponsor yet, but they're not a sponsor. But to me, it's one of the tools that I can use, and I that was the first time I ever run out of um, credits in order to make images. Um, so we did that, and then last night I saw or heard the notion of who's which one would you be okay with taking care of your baby? So I thought, America the baby, Lexion put the baby in the crib, and I, in fact, I might pull it up. Let me see what my actual Leonardo.ai. Let me see what my actual prompt was. Prompt engineering. We talked about that last week. It's kind of cool. It's a cool notion. I'm fascinated by AI on many levels. So, excuse me. I'll try to show this to you guys if I can get green. I'm up into which is away from my big, quote unquote, big computer. So I'll try not to put too many things up because it makes things lag, which I think I might have seen just now. Let me turn this down. Hold on. If I can see anything. Get started. And as soon as I get it on the screen, I will put it up and then you guys can take a look at it. Come on now. Come on. Come to daddy. That's strange. Oh no, here we go. So my prompt was here, I'll put it on the screen. My prompt was this was my last one, which I went with this one right here. So you guys can see what this one came out to be. And I was trying to actually have a view of the electoral college states, the states that won or that voted for Trump and those who voted for Kamala, but I couldn't quite get in there because this crib portion right here, which now that I look at it kind of more closely, you know how AI has certain anomalies in there that you can't really fix. Sometimes the flag might not actually look like the flag. I think they did a pretty good job with Trump. Not so good of a job with Kamala, but anyway, and her hand is not quite uh, uh, you know where it should be. But I mean, as far as an image goes, though, it did what I needed to do. So that's kind of where the whole idea of let's put the baby to rest. But anyway, and you know what? I mean, kind of like what Let said. Uh, no matter the winner, I won't be celebrating with the loser. I mean, I don't think that you're either going to be celebrating with the loser, be a loser, or you're going to be happy um for the winner. Now, as for me in my household, I'm gonna tell you kind of like how I was raised when I was growing up. This is a nod to my mother. Um, First of all, I mean, I've said before, I am the son of a preacher man. My mother and father divorced when I was quite young. I lived with both my mother and my father for periods of time, and then ended up with my mother from a certain period of time until I went out to graduate high school. But during that time, she was stationed at the Pentagon. I mentioned the Pentagon because during that time was a time that, as far as church goes, my mother was always active in the church as well, both when we were in Japan and we were just prior to going to Japan. But we went to this particular church, very charismatic, Um, I remember it was a pastor and his son. So it was both pastors, with the pastor and a preacher which was his son. What was their last name? I can't remember exactly what their last name, but I think I might tell you two stories about this church. Anyway, but what I remember about one that my mom was at the Pentagon. First of all, my mother received a pretty well known. I'm gonna say well known, but it was a kind of an important medal that she received. It was the Joint Chiefs of Staff's medal. I don't know if she was the only black woman at the time, but she was one of few women that received this medal. And at the time, I didn't really know it was a big deal because it just didn't dawn on me until until I was in the military. But I remember a bunch of generals there, um, and they had a big ceremony, and they gave my mom this medal. But one thing that my mother did was she attended a prayer service once or twice a week. Now, I only remember I remember her talking about it to multiple people. That's why I became aware of it. I never went to the actual prayer service. But what they did was they prayed for the president, whoever that was at the time. This is my childhood, so in my lifetime, I remember Jimmy Carter, I remember Reagan, I remember Bush, both of them, obviously Clinton, um, Biden, Obama, Trump, and now Trump again. But my point is that our church and my mother has always talked about praying for the president, whoever he is, whatever political party he sides with or on, that we just pray for his well-being and for him to make the best decisions, et cetera, et cetera. So although, I picked a dog in the fight, at the end of the day, whoever becomes president, we have to live, or we should live with that president, and hopefully they make the best decision. So I just think in my mind forward from the point of now, okay, now we know that President Trump is going to be president again. What happens now? Now, I certainly do not think that anything like what occurred in January 6th is going to occur again because he's in office now. And I just don't see the supporters of Harris doing anything like that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening. Um, some of the policies that have been, talked about, and the type of person that he is, et cetera, et cetera, people can go ahead and be upset or whatever about the fact that he is now going to be president. But at the end of the day, what's up, old guy Mitch? And I have been meaning to get back with you because I'm basically back from vacation, which we had talked about getting on the air together probably. Um, and it's not that I do not want to do it, but we have one more trip to go to before year's end. So I'm kind of holding off. You know how it is when you leave your house and you have somebody watching all that stuff. You don't want anything going wrong or whatever, and I make plans for to be gone. Then a number of shows come out, and then I come back, and everybody's like, "Oh, you were gone." So yeah, I was gone. But in this case, I got to catch up with you, so you understand how that goes. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And to be honest with you, I remember when Trump was elected the first time. Now, I don't know. I I remember when Trump first got into the game, so to speak, or put his hat in the ring. Is that what you say? His hat in the ring. Yeah. I remember thinking, you know what? I think America probably does need like a good businessman. Something to kind of shake up things. Um, and I always perceived him to be a good business name. The name Trump, to me, just signified, power, wealth, success, those kind of things. So I thought in my mind, who better a person to come into uh, America's, into government and kind of shake things up and do things a little bit differently, not business as usual as politicians do, like we see, with a lot of the corruption and a lot of the, um, behind the scenes kind of things that everybody's always like, why are you doing that? The pork, is that what they call it? Pork filled pockets. Anyway, I just felt that he would be able to separate himself from that, because he wasn't a politician, so to speak. I mean, and it probably turns out, and he talks about it himself. He knows many of the people who commingle with people in Washington, and so he talks the game as if he would be able to outdo them. And you know what? I mean, call it what you will, but whatever he has done, despite losing in between and now coming back to office, he did it. Him and his team did it. So it is what it is. Now I told you guys about this. My phone is ringing. I get a lot of spam calls now. I don't answer them. Maybe one day I'll answer them on the line on the air, but um, usually, well, let's see. I'm pretty sure this is. Oh, they hung up. Usually, they call, and I will say, I say hello. And then if any of you have heard about the type of spam, not spam, scammers who want to get your voice recording of you saying not just hello, but a number of different things. I mean, I record my voice in front of you all the time, so if you wanted to, you could probably put a whole slew of things, have me say a bunch of shit. So, um, anyway, I just mess with them now. When I say I mess with them, um, I will I will say hello, and they'll say their little spiel. How are you doing today, for example? And I'll say, how can I help you? Which is not an answer to me that I feel like will give them any information as far as a voice prompt or anything like that. And they'll say, and they'll go off on their spiel. Then I usually put them on mute. Then once they're on mute, they they say their spiel and they say, "Can you hear me?" And they might repeat it again. So this amount of time takes about a minute. Sometimes I think closer to a minute is when they hang up. But at the end of the day, the scam portion of what it all has been, I've taken up their time. So that's the kind of like little tiny win that I take that I do. So um and I've told you guys before, my mother was scammed for a period of time. Her having dementia currently, diagnosed as Alzheimer's. Um I mean, I can't believe how long it actually took for me to become aware. I mean, it wasn't necessarily my fault. So I'm gonna tell you kind of like the progression of how it went. First of all, my my well, my uncle. Sorry, I'm fumbling a little bit because I'm really trying to think about how it went. So first of all, my sister started kind of telling me about some of the things that were strange to her. She thought was weird. Mom was doing this. Hold on one second. My mic. This is the second time this has done this, and I don't know why. I'm pretty sure my battery for my mic is good. But the way I have my setup now is this mic that you see right here is going directly into VoiceStream. And before I had a microphone that I had on my head and it just went off. But before I came on the show, it did the same thing. But the battery should be good. Everything should be straight. But I'll have to double check. Give me one second. I'm just going to double check something real quick. Why is it doing that? So I'm sure you guys cannot hear me right now, right? One second. Oh, you can hear me? Oh, why? I think maybe. Hmm. See, now I don't even know why you can't hear me. I can hear you. All right. Well, then maybe I should just keep talking. But hi, Gail. How you doing? So now I'm trying to figure out where it is that you can hear me from. I don't know which mic is being played. I really don't know because this unit right here might be my computer. Does the sound? You guys say you can hear me, but can you hear me in the same way that you heard me before? Does it sound different at all? Hmm, that's crazy. But what I will do doesn't sound different at all. Huh, interesting. Well, I'll have to go back and check it out, see why. And that would be sad because I actually love this. It sounds good to me. Good. Now it's just on battery. It's not by electricity, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, what was I talking about? I was rambling. Uh, you guys, some of you guys may know. I'm sure I told you this before. If you watch any number of my shows, but we have an eBay business. Um, it's not the time of plentifulness as it was before. During COVID, people were spending lots of money, and they're not quite doing that the way they used to be doing it, but they still spend money. But we're changing our store. Um, your mom sounds good to me. Your mom. Oh, okay. Um, we're not. I mean, we're changing the store a little bit. Like we have like 3,000 items that are listed, and I'm thinking that I would like to get it down to 1,000, so about a third. In the very beginning, when we first started off with books, which was cool. I mean, we did books and they sold, and we sent them on Amazon, and then we did a whole bunch of stuff that we sent to Amazon as well. New stuff, old stuff. We go out and source, and it was a good time, and the Amazon business did well. But then we had some times where we couldn't. We bought stuff at a very good price, but Amazon wouldn't let us put it on. So we're like, well, let's go to eBay. I was no longer a director of a call center. That entity and we ceased our relationship. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do this full time. And I picked up eBay. I started learning how to do things on eBay. Um, and then at the end of the day, we had a whole bunch of stuff that started coming back from Amazon, or we made it so that it would come back from Amazon because it wasn't selling. So, I mean, the whole process of eBay, um, you know, arbitrage, so if so to speak, as you call it, retailing, is a learning process, including learning about the inventory that you have, whether it be clothes, all that stuff. And the reason why I mentioned it is because I'm wearing this shirt, which was on my store. We had extra small, large, extra large, whatever. And I saw this. I'm like, we just had an election. I'm going to be a little bit patriotic with the red, white, and blue. I'll put this on, and I kind of liked it. I kind of dug it, and I took it off the store, which we're doing. We're taking things off the store anyway, so I put this on. So you were talking about your mom. Oh, I was talking about my mom. Okay, thank you. Um, yes. Well, if you heard that part, then I don't know where I ended up, but somehow I got to the point where I was talking about how my mom was and how she told us about um, our perception of the president. So I have always, even though I voted for one way or the other, I voted Republican, I voted Democratic in my lifetime. Um, I always, and from the very beginning, my mother has taught us to um, pray for those people who are in power, who govern us. And at the end of the day, although we had a general election yesterday, the years from that election till the ones coming, we still have to elect those who govern us in the interim, our local government people. So I say pay attention to that as well. Learn the process. This is probably the first year that I have paid more attention to our government than I have before. One, because I'd moved to a new town. So when I moved to this new town, my wife and I moved to this new town, we had to deal with certain things that involve the government, buying a new property. Um, we had we have a big gigantic tree in our that sits on our it's not on our property, it's outside of our property, but it leans over onto our house. And when we first purchased it, they were like, you have to cut it off. But it's a historical tree. So we had to actually go to the city and hire an arborist, is that what you call it? A tree person to cut it back. And now it's growing back. It's gonna have to be done again. And then we have some property on the backside of our land as well, which is all overgrown. And when we first bought the property, I was like, if we can figure out a way to get that piece of property attached to ours as well as part of the sale, then let's do it, because it extends from our property all the way to the next street, and it's just woods out there. And the mice and all that stuff come over onto our side, and so we've been trying to acquire that piece of land, but I don't know, we can't seem to get a hold of it. But that, and then there was a pipe that broke. Everything seems to be able to just be just on the very outside of our property, but maybe facing towards our property, so it becomes our responsibility. Like, a pipe broke, but instead of being on the street side, it was on our side, and so it became our responsibility. And we were on vacation at the time, and there was just water spewing um out of the pipe. We ended up fixing it. It wasn't too bad. We have a neighbor who does good for us. He's our plumber now. So living in North Carolina in a small town like we do, different from where it was when we were living in Utah, you start to figure out that, well, sometimes things take a long time to get done. But if you know a person, and then if you know a person who knows a person, then sometimes you can get things done quicker. And now I'm golfing. I golf nearly every day, but I didn't realize, maybe I don't know, if I think Let's was one of the people who told me that they're a golfer. I don't know if you golf, old Mitch, but or even Gail, if you golf, but I think there's a lot of deals made on the golf course. I went out with a group of guys, and they talked a lot. You're having a good time. And I don't drink, so it wasn't like we were in a group with people who were drinking beer or anything like that. They were just talking, and there was some business being talked. Um, yeah, so I think a lot of deals are happening on golf course. But speaking of golf, this is what I woke up to. Instead of being distraught about the fact that Kamala lost or Trump won, however you want to look at it, um, my uncle, who is scheduled to come today, travel from where I was born in Indiana, um, travel from Indiana to come visit here for like 3 days. We were scheduled to play tomorrow on my home course. And then there's another course that the membership that we are a part of, it's called Macropines Country Club. They are co-members of another country club called Farmville Country Club. So we're going to play both of those. But he looked at the 10-day forecast, and it calls for 50% chance of rain tomorrow. So, and then I looked at it, and I don't know, I don't know exactly what he was looking at. I thought that he sent me an image of what he was looking at, but maybe he didn't, because when I sent it from Pine Tops, the town that I live in, I think it said 49%, but it was like, intermittent showers possible, but the temperature was going to be greater than it was before and all that stuff. And to me, I was like, that's par for the course. It's going to be a nice day. We're gonna have a we're gonna golf and do all that stuff. Anyway, he was like, "I'm a fair weather golfer, so North Carolina coming to visit is out off the table." And I was like, "Man," I was distraught. And then I saw well, I think when I went to bed, I was kind of getting the handwriting was on the wall that Trump had won, so that was the news that I got this morning that I was distraught about. Not like I was like, "Oh my gosh, Trump won, Kamala." Because last night I did see some images. I mean, has anybody heard whether or not, Kamala Harris has given her concession speech or not? Because I haven't. I only do mini golf. Mini golf is cool. I like mini golf. In fact, I probably should play more mini golf because I need my putt game. So, like, the people that I play with now are a little bit older. Like, my wife and I play with, a couple that are, like, in their 70s. They've retired. I think one, she still works a little bit, but he was in real estate. Really cool people. Really, we really enjoy playing with them. Um, and so when I play with him, though, first of all, we play at different spots. You know, I play the white tees and he plays the yellow tees. But I mean, I'm still kind of young and athletic and whatever, and so I hit the ball pretty far for my age. And he's always like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could hit the ball like that, blah, blah, blah." But he hits it fairly straight. He's really consistent. I'm getting there, but I'm still not quite there. And then when we get on the greens, he putts way better than I putt. So I'm missing a lot of strokes by missing some putts. So I need to hone that game down. Maybe I should go and do some mini golf things. So I only do mini golf. All right. So that's what's going on with me. That's what's going on with America, voting wise, right? We have a president now. And you know what? I mean, I'm gonna think about it this way. When and I began thinking about this because of hearing my uncle talk about it going to rain versus be all sunny. And I'm literally saying that the forecast, I wish I could show you. It probably still says it. The forecast says 50%. Let me see if I can pull it up. So, and I'm gonna try to show it to you guys. How do I get to? See, now this is gonna make me upset. Not really upset, but so I'm gonna see if you guys. Oh no, you can't see. Look at that. Can you see? That's kind of cool. Anyway, on my forecast, it says today 2% chance of rain. It has a droplet and has 2%. And it has like a sun with some clouds. 82 and 65 is the low and high. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, which my uncle would have traveled to come here and then get here and we would play on Thursday. It used to say 50%. I promise you, it used to say 50%. And now it says 19%. But he's already told me that he's not coming. And then Friday we would have played at another one of the courses. 19% is what it says. So, but what I began to think about, this is literally what I was thinking about, is that 50% chance of rain, even if it was 49-51, it's it's that chance of raining, but it's also that chance of not raining. So why is it that I'm going to say he, I mean, his assertion was that, he didn't want to travel out here, even though he had planned to travel out here. He's retired now. He has all that time to be able to do it. Um, but he's like, I don't want to risk coming out and it raining. It's not worth it. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, I'm glad that you found people to golf with and whatever. I'm like, but you know what? It's not the same. I don't have the same connection with those random people as I do with my family. It's cool. I remember this particular uncle. He's the youngest in the family amongst my father's siblings. So he was always a tennis player, and when we were out, because they exposed us to tennis, we didn't do golf at that age or that time. Now he like bought my daughter a set of golf clubs. She didn't ever pick it up, but he obviously picked up golf, and now he does the frisbee disc golf or whatever. But he was one of those athletic people that was out there in the clinics with us as well, teaching us how to do tennis and everything like that. So, excuse me, it was it was cool to kind of back then him do the things that he did. And now as a man, as I've gotten older, I kind of appreciate the fact that we can play a game, he and my father. So I've played with my uncle, my dad, myself. We've all played together. And it's just cool to be able to hang out and see two men who I'm very much like. I mean, they are a lot like my grandfather and my grandmother, their parents. And we call it the Woodall kind of thing because there's a certain something that we are like, stubborn in some way, but not stubborn. It's not quite stubborn. It's kind of I don't even know what you call it, but my grandfather, he was kind of a miser type guy. During the Depression, he bought some land as well, and hoarded bought bonds. And when we went to his house, he didn't have like a Sanford and Son type piece of property, but he had a whole bunch of stuff because he fixed things. That was just him. That's how they are, and I'm a lot like them in many ways, and of course, I'm like my mom as well. But it's cool to be able to be in their presence, and at the same time, because I can see how my father and he are alike, and then when they get around, even my aunt, when they all get together, oh my gosh, it's just so funny to see them do their thing. So I kind of just enjoy hanging out with them like that, and so to be able to play golf with him was kind of a cool thing. It was like, that's what I'm gonna be able to play golf with him again. We've already done it before, and not only just play golf, but play golf on my home course, so that I have the potential to kind of like whip up on him a little bit. So I was looking forward to it, and now we have to wait. So, but I think the reason I was talking about that is because I was thinking about the fact that we had a 50-50 chance of having either Trump be president again, or I think my dog is. Hold on one second. I don't know what I hear. Or Kamala Harris be president. 50-50, right? So it's going to be one way or the other. So on some level, we had to be okay with the fact that one was going to be president and one was not. And the first thing that we saw as far as Let's comment in the very beginning was this one right here. He said, no matter the winner, I won't be celebrating with the loser. So, so yeah, it's a little bit different than I think I said this before already, but I was shocked when he was president the first time, and now I don't have the same. I don't have the same notion as I did before, and at the end of the day, this is kind of like where I'm thinking things are going to be like. I have become so much more active, and we call it 1A, First Amendment auditor, those kind of things. I have some specific things that I would like to see changed in North Carolina. One of them being, and I've talked about this before, one of them being um, body worn camera footage. In North Carolina, body worn camera footage and dash cam footage are not considered um, public records. So now, even more so, considering the fact that we have heard some type of dialogue with regards to Trump wanting or not wanting to have immunity for officers. Now, and I don't know how that's going to translate state by state, but if North Carolina being one of those states that doesn't hold body worn camera footage as public records, then you have a big possibility that incidents that occur and they are going to occur undoubtedly, whether they be with the officer being in full compliance with all the things that he's supposed to do, policy, law, etc., or the victim who may have done or not done something being in compliance or not being in compliance. Um, the record that can exist is camera footage. And if you make it so that there's this arduous ass task that has to be gone through, this hoop that has to a person has to jump through in order to have the record be shown independently. That's the part that I have a problem with, is that you can go through a process and get these the camera body worn camera footage, but it seems to be a problem. I'm trying to think if I actually have already done. I have not yet requested body worn camera footage because one, I wasn't involved in anything directly yet, and two, um, I haven't found the incidents that I think are worthy to be looked into. Excuse me. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit with regards to the things that I plan on doing with public records. I mean, sorry, body worn camera footage, is that there are 100 counties in North Carolina, and I started with the counties surrounding mine. Mine is called Edgecombe County. There are like 4 or 5 different counties that border where I live, and I began putting out public records that ask pretty much the same piece of information of those counties that are surrounding, because if I needed to go there, they would be in close proximity to where I live. I'm just kind of outlining the thought process that I began doing to kind of affect the change that I would like to see happen in North Carolina. So I sent out public records requests. Excuse me. This is probably about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I've received some trickling in responses. But just the general gist of it is that I asked if there were any incidents that occurred. So we're talking about in the sheriff's department, because I'm dealing with those entities that are dealing with the county. Um, any incidents that had complaints attached to them, and if there were complaints attached to them, if there were any determinations. I forget what you call it. They either say yes, something happened bad, or something didn't happen bad, justified or not justified. Sustained, I think, is what they call it. I think they call it sustained. So the first few that I sent, um, one person or the other responded, and he kind of this particular person, I want to say it was Wilson County. Wilson County person, the contact there, um, sent a message, and I ended up talking to him directly. And he said, "Well, we have these records that you're asking for, but if this is what you're going to be doing with multiple counties, then you're going to want to make sure that you have and understand what the retention levels are. How long do they keep these records? What they do with them when they're finished with them, etc. Those things, basically along the same lines as what Steve or Gandalf from I Am Free and then auditing media, what he basically instructed me, which was become familiar with the public records laws, the exemptions that they have, and the reasons why they would keep information away from you. So that's kind of like the path that I'm going on with the counties. Is I'm trying to figure out if there is an incident that happened that was investigated, that somebody complained and said, "This happened to me, and I would like you to look into it." Because from there, I can say, well, surely there's body worn camera footage of that. And what did the body worn camera footage show? And if it showed that, and only your entity, the people who looked into it, were able to look at it and say, yeah, okay, we needed to do something, or we didn't need to do something, or the officer was fired, et cetera, et cetera. Why does that information not be public record for the rest of the world to be able to see? And because I think it allows for sheriff's departments to, we say that the police themselves, and they're looking into the investigate themselves. Well, I think that that causes them to miss stuff. I mean, I'm just saying miss stuff, but we all know, or some of us know, or can say that it's stuff is being ignored. That's what I feel, that things are being ignored. And if you, especially now, if you're going to make it so that that officers have immunity on whatever level it is, I mean, and I don't know if this is going above and beyond qualified immunity. And again, qualified immunity applies to not just officers, but anybody, any government official. Um, but if you add some level of immunity on top of that, and you also make it so that the body worn camera footage, which they are wearing to show transparency, is not something that we can look at all the time. I just think that's just layer upon layer of just basically hiding stuff. And I don't like it. So I'm trying to start there with regards to my state. And I think that it's been on the ballot. Whenever it first came on the ballot, people have tried to do something to make it change so that it reverts back to being public records, but I don't know where it is right now. And then that's some kind of a rabbit hole that, I mean, I might just give up on one day. Who knows? I don't think so. I think I have an interest in it. I just because I've requested body worn camera footage in Indiana at, for one time for once, and it was a very seamless process. I mean, it literally was. I was surprised at how easy it was for them to give me the footage that they gave me. Now, I was involved in the situation. It was when I went to the SSA um, building, the Social Security Administration offices, and I had an encounter with the cops. But they gave it to me, no problem whatsoever. Let me say. Gail says, I think they took her word over mine because she came from a rich family and I was new to town. Let's see. Let me see what she wrote. I missed something. Sorry about that. Okay. So I didn't see that you had written this, and it's kind of cool. So I'm gonna go back to where you started. I'm at home cleaning and dusting day, trying to think of what video to make. There you go. All right. She wrote, "When I went to bed, I could have went either way." Oh, it could have went either way. She says, "I worked as a paraprofessional at an elementary school." Uh, what is a paraprofessional? Is that like maybe like a caseworker? Because they couldn't find it on camera, she got away with it. Oh, one of the other paraprofessional hurt a kid. Okay. Because they couldn't find it on camera, she got away with it. Oh my gosh. That's terrible. This woman still works with children. That's definitely an example of something that I'm talking about. Now, I mean, I asked what a paraprofessional is, but um certainly, certainly we talk about cameras in schools. I mean, I don't think I have a problem. I don't my kids, well, I still have a daughter that's she's in 7th grade now. Um I mean, more cameras the better, I think. And this is in Utah too, so I mean, I don't really have to deal with it. Her mother does, but um yeah, I don't have a problem with cameras in there. But you think in your mind, how could something like this happen where well, so it sounds like there was evidence that this this incident occurred, and the only reason why she got away with it was because, what did it become, like a her word, he said, she said kind of thing? She needed an on-person camera for sure. Okay. Um, we were working with special needs children. Okay. Oh my gosh. And even what, harder for communication to occur sometimes. They may not be able to communicate as well as another individual can, and something happens like, and I actually I have experience where something happened to a child, not even a special needs child, just a child, and basically um the adult made it sound as if this child was not able to describe what happened well enough. And I'm saying it wasn't like maybe like a 4-year-old or 3-year-old, somewhere around there where, you're not quite sure if they're saying exactly what they want to be saying, or, what I think what professionals nowadays, they make it so that the child can demonstrate on a doll, for example, what happened to them. That they kind of do those things. I think they're trained to do that though, right? So I think they took her word over mine because she came from a rich family and I was new to town. Okay, I see. That's where we talk about that. Sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah. Never take advantage of people with special needs. Yep. I mean, it's that is like I mean, what do you call it? People say you're going to hell if you do that. You laugh at somebody because of that. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things. I don't there's not too many times where I see somebody who clearly has special needs, for example, and something happens to them, funny or not funny, that I'm going to be just busting up laughing because we used to say, we say it now, you're going to hell if you do that. So I don't mess around with that. Um, the person who leads the special needs kids around is a paraprofessional. Oh, I see. Oh, paraprofessional. I see. I got you. I understand now. Kind of like a student teacher. I get it. I understand now. See, learn something new every day. The kid could not speak for himself. He had Down syndrome. All right. Wow. Interesting. Now, so I'm curious. So, do you feel, for example, then, Gail, that people who work around other individuals, special needs kids, for example, who can't necessarily speak for themselves, do you think that they should routinely have body worn camera footage on, for example, or the facility itself should have cameras? Which do you think it should be? I'm trying to think which way do I think. I mean, certainly the facility itself could and should have cameras on the surface. And then, I mean, because you have to think about also, I mean, we don't have them. I mean, are these places when they go to their facilities for school? You have to be concerned that they might get away. So are these facilities on lockdown? It's not quite like a prison, but I would imagine. Okay, you said both. I would imagine they have to be concerned that them getting away and people getting in. So that's one thing, one concern. But then, of course, you have, especially if you have a situation where you've described the way that you've described it. Um, yeah, walking around with a camera probably is not going to be bad. I mean, and people might say, "Well, what about my privacy?" Well, you most likely, if you're concerned about the privacy that you're missing out on because you have body worn camera footage, then you probably need to be wearing body worn camera footage. So there was a camera. There was a camera in the gym, but it didn't catch it. She was in a corner. Oh my gosh! Reminds me of that one case. Do you guys remember the case where some random, not random, some guy ended up rolled up in the wrestling mats and died? But there was no footage of what happened to this guy. I think this might be some urban legend type stuff. Hold on one second. Where urban legend stuff where they say that his body was found without organs. I think that might be, what do you call it? I think it might be urban legend stuff, but I might have to check that out because I think I remember that story. I remember that story, and I remember thinking, Yeah, we don't have the whole story there. All right, so well, I mean, well, that's cool, Gail. Thank you for contributing as much as you have on there. I'm sorry it took me a while to get to that, but that's interesting the way that you brought it out. And I mean, I'm just gonna kind of to to go over what it is that I talked about with regards to why that is my issue. Um, and I mean, I always find it interesting when there are states out there. You see all the time BWC footage from such and such a place, and I mean, I I guess maybe sometimes people pay for it, and like Pinellas County, my friend Jadek, you guys have heard me talk about him. We were in the Air Force together, in basic training, and his life took a different direction aside from the Air Force, and he became a surgical PA. And then he had an interaction with the police officers in his area, and they cuffed him, and they took him into custody, put him in a restraint chair for a long period of time. He claims it to be multiple hours, and also used stun cuffs, and the stun cuffs damage his hands. So he's taking that to court. He's filing a suit over that, but he requested footage of the incident, and there's a lot of footage that is missing, according to him. Now, I haven't determined it yet. Now, I have a public records request in there, and they did, and because when I first put the request out there, they told me it was going to be $700 to get all the information that I asked for, and it turns out that the reason why it cost that amount was because I wasn't specific enough. So basically, what the way he described it to me, the custodian of records described it to me was that because of your query was this, we have to go through and check this and then eliminate everything else that can't go alongside the records. So I said, and I didn't want to give specifically what I was asking for because I suspected that some of the information was not there. So I didn't want them to throw it in there because oh, he's asking the exact same thing. I wanted to ask it in a way that if they omitted it, then I would, discover that they were trying to hide something. Basically, that's kind of my thought process. Um, so now that I have, so what I did was I asked for the policy of use of force, the policy for the use of the stun cuff or the restraint chair, what the type of the chair was, the stun cuffs that they used, the policy for the use of that, and what the model, make, and model, and all that stuff was. They gave me that information. So now we take that information, their policy, and I'll say, this is what was purported to have occurred. You all sent off this pieces of information, and it appears that you have these pieces missing. Your exemptions say that you exempt giving information because of this, and this, and this, and that. You didn't tell us that that's the reason why you left out this information. Why is this information missing? And by the way, it was already requested and you already charged them for this amount. So I shouldn't have to pay any more, even though I'm telling you that you omitted some of the stuff. So that was my process, and that's what I'm waiting on now. And when that story finally gets to me, then I will share it with you, and or Steve and I will go on the air. So I know of more. Let's see. Let's says cameras are like a lock. They try to keep people honest. They try to keep people honest. I know of more than a few people with handcuff damage. Yeah, so and it doesn't have to be the stun cuff types, right? I mean, I've had handcuffs on before. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. I couldn't see your faces, but I immediately saw that your mind went there. Or maybe it was my mind that went there. But anyway, I've had handcuffs on before, and it does make your hands numb. Like you see people in on TV and they do this. Yeah. Shouldn't pay at all for the people's records. Yeah. Now, so that's good. That's a good point that you make, Let's. So I agree with you because so what he said was, excuse me, that was my dog's barking. Maybe the mail is here. what he said was that they have a person that has the specialist, he called them, has to go through and find things that has to be redacted. I said, "Well, how much are you paying that person?" So I requested how much the salary was. I can't even remember what it was, but it was a decent salary. So so that's the question. When we as citizens pay for a person to be the specialist that goes through and redacts things, anytime that they're not doing that, they're still getting paid for doing that. And when the requests come in, then I mean, that's their job. So, and I asked the question before I even submitted. I said, "So are you charging us for the extra amount of time that it takes to do this?" And they're saying we get more requests than we have time to do. Well, that's fine. Then you have to figure out, prioritize things. I mean, I think if they go by a first come, first serve basis. I can understand that. But at the end of the day, you can't possibly have so many requests that the person that you hire to take care of those requests still needs to, on top of that, find charges. And they say, "We're not trying to get rich off of this." I'm not saying you're trying to get rich off of this. But I mean, I just I really do feel like what they try to do is to keep things away from me. The custodian of records says, "We would like to give you the information that you seek, and for as cheaply as possible. But when it takes time to do this, we have a formula that we put it in, and then whatever spits out is what we charge. And if it could be determined that we can cut some of those costs, then we will." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." So first of all, my request is going to be very specific. I'm going to try to make it as though it was already requested and they omitted information, because that's what it's looking like right now. And then once they do that, then I'm going to try to have them give it to me for way less than $700. I mean, first of all, if I just send you if I send you a flash drive, I mean, what does it cost for me to provide it to you and then you send it back to me, even if I pay for postage? I mean, I ship every day for the eBay business, so I'm sure I can find a way for you to get it to you for way cheaper than $700. Anyway, soon we pay for cops for showing up, right? Wait, I mean, you keep it real for real. I mean, when you think about it, I know I kind of know how you are with some of these things, and at the end of the day, you probably are disgusted by the notion of the extra stuff that we pay for, or that they tell us to pay for. I mean, I'm sure it's reasonable, for example, for a person who's in jail for a period of time or prison for a period of time to be charged for the meals that they eat or something like that. But I mean, prison is big business when you think about it. Because check this out. Think about this. Not only so when I mean, you have a certain amount of workers in the prison that have to mind the prisoners. But let's just take the cafeteria for example. Now, some entity is making money for the contract to feed the prisoners, right? Whatever that contract is. I mean, we'll just call it millions of dollars. But then, as an incentive to the people who are imprisoned, they can they can work in those cafeterias and feed the prisoners. So now the entity who has a contract to feed the prisoners is getting workers for some astronomically cheap price. And the list goes on. It's not just the cafeteria. It's I mean, cleaning, you name it. The list goes on. I mean, it's big business as far as I'm concerned. So, and I like to look into that too. I mean, when you know, basically when it comes to frugality, governmental frugality, where the government and I keep in mind, I was in the Air Force for 6 years. I worked in the lab. So we had supplies that we used nearly daily, for example, in the drawing room, right? And I remember specifically there came a time where we were the it was near the end of the year and we would just randomly order stuff, needing it or not needing it, because if we didn't deplete the budget, then they would decrease it the next year. So we didn't want that to happen. So we just spent money. I certainly think that needs to stop. So, well, Mr. President, you have a new period of 4 years to make it happen or not. Apparently, people were pleased with what you did. And we can clearly put this election baby to bed. Pretty sure it's I like I said, I don't know if it's after I finish this, I'm going to go and see if there is a concession speech or whatever. I would imagine, unlike him, did he ever give a concession speech? Hmm. I don't remember if he did or did not. But anyway, so now we're here. So now we're going to see what he is going to do. This I think I'm going to take the time as much as I'm able to, because it's a lesson in like figuring things out when you start looking into things. And when I say look into things, not just like Google it. I mean, Google obviously has its benefits, but I'm talking about when you start really looking into different things and comparing what one person says about another person and whether the policy is actually this or not, and just look into it. I think that I'm going to pay a lot of attention, because what's going to happen on the next election, presidential election, is that there's going to be somebody replacing Donald Trump as a Republican, and then there's going to be some Democrat. So I think the next 4 years is going to be the time where I can figure out what's working for America, what's not working for America. Oh, what that was his speech there. He said that was his January 6th was his speech for. Okay, I understand. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to spend some time doing. Well, we have done another hour. Those of you who came and went, I appreciate you showing up. There was one other thing I was going to say. Not like I said a lot anyway, so. I mean, I did say a lot of words, and I was trying to, describe my thoughts about our country and spin it in a positive light. I mean, I just think that despite what what was to occur just before the election, I literally considered Mr. Trump, President Trump, to be a very divisive type person. Like, it's not as if, but that's the thing too. A lot of people were saying this last night, that a lot of these places it was like 50-50, and it's not like it's like, you know, 45-55. We're talking about like 49% and then 47. I mean, like, it's really, really close, and then some of the independents out there. So we're literally talking about one half of the country against the other, right? I mean, we are. I mean, for us to be the same people. When I say the people, we're all Americans, and for us to have a notion about what it is that we want, how we go about getting it is certainly one thing. But how do you treat the person standing next to you, whatever they believe? And that's one thing. You can walk around and you can see on people's yards that they support this president or this candidate or whatever. But do you really know what that person stands for until you get to know them? I say no, right? You have an idea. I mean, I may I may be, I have a sister, a cousin, an uncle, a friend, we all have one of those that, has a certain lifestyle, has a certain ideology, all those kind of things. And I have to get along with that person. You have to get along with that person. Why is it so differently if that person, you don't know that person at all? Or if they tell you that they support this person or the other person? I don't think that we're that much different. We, in fact, I think we're much more alike than we purport ourselves to be. But when you begin to talk about it, when you have another person that claims to have ideas similar to yours, then that propagates to the next person, the next person, the next person. Then you have a group of people who now have aligned themselves magically. Do they really have the same opinions about things? I mean, I don't know. I can't call it. It's too close to call. So anyway, well, let's see. Enjoyed your live. Thank you, Gail. Appreciate you showing up. Let's said thanks, Fat. Good conversation. Appreciate it. You do make me think about things. So that's good. I appreciate it. You know what? And that is that is all I could ask for, is that um, you know, my perspective is a reasonable perspective. And you know what I say? I say something to this effect. Whether you be on the left side or the right side, as far as I'm concerned, I just ask that you meet me here, somewhere in the middle. Because if we stand on the opposite sides of whatever coin it is that we're talking about, and we continually go in that direction, we are never going to find a place where we can meet and understand and agree upon something that we both can live with, right? So some people may take that to be weak. Um, you know, I seek neutrality along with understanding so that we can accomplish getting to know what it is that we can both live with. So that's where I am. That's what I do. That's the types of things that I talk about from that perspective. I don't consider myself a very political person at all. So we'll figure out some other things that we can talk about now that the election is passed. That's why I say let's put that election thing in its crib. They can take care of whatever. We can figure some other stuff to do. So until next time, America, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and we will see you on the next show. Peace.
Confused. Confucius, don't confuse us, let me explain. The object of this game, let's all play the same. Don't question the madness, embrace the change. The superior man seeks truth, that's his aim. He who knows all the answers ain't been asked enough. Life's like a puzzle, you gotta call his bluff. Yes, fact the madness, let the truth guide us. In the arena of debate, we'll all rise up. Question the madness, oh don't you see? In this crazy world, it's the only key to find the truth, the answers we seek. So let's all rise